So let's talk about something that's been happening maybe a little under the radar, unless you're really paying attention. A growing number of banks worldwide, and I'm talking about some seriously big names here, are now using XRP. They're using it either directly or through Ripple's payment network, RippleNet, to completely change how they handle cross-border payments and settlements. This isn't just some small-scale experiment anymore. We're seeing a fundamental shift in the financial plumbing of the world, and XRP is right at the center of it. The old way of sending money internationally, with its high fees and multi-day delays, is starting to look like a relic from the past. This movement is especially strong in Asia, where the demand for faster, cheaper international transactions is absolutely massive. We're seeing an incredible push for adoption there, with countries like Japan leading the charge. But it's not just an Asian phenomenon. We're also seeing top-tier global institutions, banks you use every single day, getting on board. They're realizing that to stay competitive, they need to ditch the ancient SWIFT system and embrace something built for the 21st century. The efficiency and cost savings are just too significant to ignore, and that's why these major players are making their move. What this means for you, for me, and for the entire crypto space is potentially huge. When legacy financial giants start integrating a digital asset like XRP into their core operations, it adds a whole new level of legitimacy and utility. It's no longer just a speculative asset, it becomes a critical piece of global financial infrastructure. So today we're going to break it all down. We're going to name names, look at who's involved, what they're doing, and what this means for the future of finance and for XRP itself. So make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's get into it. All right, first up, let's talk about the absolute giant leading the charge in Japan, and that's SBI Holdings. Seriously, these guys are not just dipping their toes in the water, they have jumped in headfirst and are basically building an entire ecosystem around XRP. SBI Holdings has been one of Ripple's biggest and most vocal partners for years. Their CEO, Yoshitaka Kitao, is a massive proponent of XRP and has even joined Ripple's board of directors. That's how deep this partnership goes. They're not just using the technology, they are actively driving its adoption across the entire country. Through their joint venture, SBI Ripple Asia, they are working relentlessly to bring Ripple's solutions to the Japanese financial market. The scale of what they're planning is just mind-boggling. SBI has a consortium of Japanese banks, and their stated goal is to get nearly 80%, yeah, that's 80%, of all Japanese banks integrated with XRP-powered solutions by the end of 2025. This isn't a far-off dream, it's a concrete roadmap they are actively executing. They've already launched services like MoneyTap, a consumer-facing payments app built on Ripple's technology, which allows for instant, low-cost domestic payments. The plan is to expand this functionality for international payments, completely revolutionizing how money moves in and out of Japan and making XRP the backbone of that revolution. Next, let's jump over to Europe and talk about a name everyone recognizes, Santander. This is one of the largest banks in the world, based in Spain, and they have been a key Ripple partner for a very long time. They were one of the first major global banks to publicly embrace Ripple's technology to tackle the massive headache of international transfers. For a bank with a huge presence in Europe and Latin America, finding a better way to move money across borders was a top priority. They saw the potential in blockchain to make these payments faster, more transparent, and significantly cheaper than the old legacy systems they were stuck with. Santander's most well-known product in this space is their OnePay FX app. This app was a game changer when it launched. It was built using Ripple's technology, initially Xcurrent, which is part of RippleNet, to allow their retail customers to send money internationally in a matter of minutes, sometimes even seconds. This was unheard of before. While they started with RippleNet's messaging capabilities, Santander has also been very open about testing and exploring the use of XRP as a bridge currency to further enhance liquidity and reduce costs, especially in more exotic currency corridors where pre-funding accounts is a massive capital drain. They are a prime example of a legacy giant using this new tech to solve a real-world problem for millions of customers. Now, let's turn our attention to the UK and another banking titan, Standard Chartered. This is a bank with a massive footprint across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, so cross-border payments are literally their bread and butter. For them, efficiency in this area isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely critical to their business model. So it's no surprise that they were one of the early investors in Ripple and have been a key partner in implementing RippleNet. Their goal was simple: achieve real-time transactions across their vast global network, something that the traditional correspondent banking system simply could not deliver. Standard Chartered has been actively using RippleNet to power payments between its own branches and for its corporate clients. They've conducted successful live transactions between countries like Singapore, India, and the US, demonstrating the power of the network to settle payments instantly and with full transparency. For a corporate treasurer trying to manage cash flow across multiple countries, knowing exactly when a payment will arrive is a massive advantage. While their primary use has been RippleNet, their deep involvement and investment in Ripple signal a clear strategic alignment. As Ripple continues to push its on-demand liquidity service, which uses XRP, a partner like Standard Chartered is perfectly positioned to become a major user to optimize liquidity in the diverse markets they serve. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic to the USA and talk about a company that's, well, pretty much synonymous with payments, American Express. Now, their involvement is a little different, but honestly incredibly significant. Amex isn't a traditional retail bank, but they are a massive player in global business-to-business or B2B payments. They partnered with Ripple to specifically target the friction in the US to UK payment corridor, which is, one of the busiest in the world. The idea was to connect American Express FX international payments customers with Santander UK accounts, using RippleNet as the rails to make the whole process instantaneous. This partnership was a huge deal because it brought a trusted global brand like Amex into the Ripple ecosystem. The service allows Amex business customers in the US to make instant, trackable payments to businesses in the UK that bank with Santander. This bypasses the typical delays and lack of transparency associated with traditional wire transfers. It's a perfect example of how Ripple's technology can be used to solve a very specific high-value problem. While the initial announcement focused on RippleNet's payment messaging, the architecture is built to be crypto-agnostic, meaning corridors like this could easily be upgraded to use XRP for liquidity in the future, potentially opening the door for even faster and cheaper settlement without the need for pre-funded accounts. Staying in the US, let's look at another major bank, PNC Bank. This is one of the largest banks in the United States, and in 2018 they made waves by announcing they would be using RippleNet for their commercial clients. This was a significant move because it represented a major US bank adopting this technology for a core part of its business treasury management. For large corporations that operate internationally, managing cash, making payments, and handling receivables across borders is a hugely complex and expensive process. PNC saw an opportunity to provide a much better service to these valuable clients. By integrating RippleNet, PNC Bank enabled its commercial clients to receive international payments in real time. Imagine you're a US-based company that just sold goods to a buyer in Europe. Instead of waiting 3 to 5 business days for the payment to clear through a web of correspondent banks, with PNC's Ripple-powered service, the funds could arrive in your account almost instantly. This has a massive impact on working capital and financial planning. The bank explicitly stated this would allow their clients to have better management of their accounts and cash flow. This integration demonstrates how XRP-enabled infrastructure can be plugged into existing banking systems to provide immediate, tangible benefits for corporate customers. Now for the one that gets a lot of people talking, Bank of America. The connection between Bank of America and Ripple has been the subject of speculation and excitement for years, and for good reason. Bank of America is the second largest bank in the US, and any move they make sends ripples, no pun intended, throughout the entire financial industry. For a long time, the partnership was just a rumor, but then it became more concrete. Bank of America was listed as a top RippleNet member on Ripple's website and has publicly confirmed that they have been testing Ripple's technology. The details are still somewhat under wraps, which is typical for a massive institution like BofA, but reports and even job listings have suggested a deep and ongoing pilot program. They have been testing the technology for cross-border payments and settlements, looking for ways to streamline their massive international transaction volume. More recently, there have been reports and documents indicating that Bank of America is not just testing RippleNet, but is actively working on patents and systems that could bring XRP into its international transfer services as a liquidity tool. While they haven't launched a full public-facing product yet, the evidence strongly suggests that one of the world's biggest banks is getting very serious about leveraging the entire Ripple ecosystem, including XRP. Beyond these huge individual names, it's important to understand that this is a global wave of adoption with hundreds of financial institutions on board. Let's do a quick lightning round of some other key players. In Japan, alongside SBI, we have MUFG, the largest bank in the country and one of the largest in the world. They've been a long-standing partner, participating in various pilots and using the technology to improve yen-based transfers. Then you have Brazil's Banco Rendimento, which was one of the first to join RippleNet to process international payments for its clients, making it easier and cheaper to send money to and from Brazil, a historically difficult market. And then there's India, a massive market for remittances and cross-border trade. Major private banks like Axis Bank and Kotak Mahindra Bank have integrated RippleNet. They're using it to power real-time payments for their retail and corporate customers, drastically cutting down settlement times and providing a level of transparency that was impossible before. What all these banks, from Japan to Brazil to India, have in common is that they have all integrated RippleNet to gain an edge. While not all of them are using XRP for liquidity just yet, they are all now part of an XRP-ready ecosystem. They've already done the hard work of integrating the core technology, making the future switch to on-demand liquidity a much smaller, simpler step. So, let's zoom out and look at the big picture here. What are the major trends we're seeing? The first and most obvious is the rapid expansion of XRP adoption and the foundation for it, RippleNet. This is not a slow burn, it's accelerating, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region. Why Asia? Because you have a combination of massive remittance markets, booming e-commerce, and a clear desire from governments and banks to modernize their financial infrastructure and move away from a US dollar-centric system. Japan, as we saw with SBI, is at the forefront, but we're also seeing huge interest and adoption in places like South Korea, the Philippines, and Thailand. The scope of what banks are using this for is also becoming clearer and more focused. The primary use case, without a doubt, is cross-border payments. That's the low-hanging fruit, the billion-dollar problem that Ripple and XRP solve better than anyone else. Within that, we're seeing a focus on two key areas: enabling real-time settlements, which is a game-changer for cash flow, and improving liquidity. Using XRP for on-demand liquidity means banks no longer have to park massive amounts of cash in nostro-vostro accounts all over the world. They can source liquidity instantly as needed, which frees up huge amounts of capital that can be put to better use. This is the ultimate goal, and more RippleNet partners are moving towards it. So to wrap this all up, what's the main takeaway here? The use of XRP and its underlying technology by banks is not just a theory anymore, it's a reality that is expanding at an incredible pace. We're seeing a clear trend of adoption led by some of the biggest financial names on the planet. The momentum is especially strong in Asia, where the need for efficient cross-border solutions is most acute. Japan is setting itself up to be a case study for nationwide adoption, with giants like SBI Holdings and MUFG leading a consortium that could fundamentally rewire the country's financial system around this technology. Looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, the focus is clearly crystallizing around a few key areas. First, perfecting low-cost instant cross-border payments for both retail and corporate customers. Second, enabling true real-time settlement, which eliminates settlement risk and transforms treasury management. And third, the holy grail, improving liquidity management through on-demand liquidity, which uses XRP directly. This is where the real cost savings and efficiency gains are, and it's the direction that leading institutions like Bank of America, Santander, and others are actively exploring. This isn't just about one cryptocurrency, it's about a fundamental upgrade to the way money moves around the world. As more global banks come on board, a network effect begins to take hold, making the platform even more valuable and essential. The push from Japan and the steady integration by global banking leaders are creating a foundation for a new financial standard. It's a massive shift and it's happening right now. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you in the next video.